What's up? How you guys doing tonight?
Whoa.
What, bro?
On a
Scared me.
Sunday. You got scared.
Me, bro.
Scared already? No way. We're doing it on Sunday. We've been all over the place a little bit over the last couple of weeks, but nonetheless, we're here. We did one on Thursday. If you haven't done so already, make sure at the end of the video you check out the one that is on Thursday with our boy Shaw King. Ray, no play. I've been playing the shit out of Hogwarts. Everyone's been playing Hogwarts, and I have not downloaded it yet. Julia, welcome to the podcast. I don't know. We will game. I don't know. Will I game? Maybe tonight. I think I might, depending on how this podcast goes.
Julia, honest question. What house did you get put into? And did you go with the house that you were chosen, or did you choose your own?
Do you do that? Do you do that at the beginning?
Yeah, towards the beginning, you get to get sorted by the little magic hat, and you can also like choose to change it if you don't agree with it. But
what kind of house? What houses are there?
So we have.
I was gonna buy. I didn't know I was gonna buy it or not, but if everybody out here getting it, I might just.
It's kind of down. It's like. Yeah,
Julie, if I played it, will you watch it?
That would be a fun stream, honestly. I am just like notorious for doing the side quests in it. It's terrible. I just got my wand and I've got almost like 12 hours into it, and it's just side quests. That's all I've been doing. And so the recommended like level for the quests is like 3 and 4 combat level, and I'm almost level 20. So
should I buy that's deep.
Stupid, bro.
Should I buy the Hogwarts Legacy Digital Deluxe Edition? That includes Hogwarts Legacy Dark Arts Garrison Hat, and Hogwarts Legacy Dark Arts Pack. Does that matter or no?
I don't think it matters, because a lot of I think, like, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it pairs with the Pokemon Go Harry Potter for your phone, and so it just like gives you loot and stuff. But I could be completely wrong.
Did I just buy it?
Just do it, bro. I should have bought it for PC. That way I could have modded it and done it.
Do you have it on PlayStation?
Xbox. It's still good though. It's a nice little couch game. Julia, what house are you? I am Ravenclaw, and that's the one I got sorted into. Giga Chads all the way.
What did you say? Giga Chads?
Yeah.
You didn't even get to the potion making a class yet?
Yeah, me either. I'm like up. I'm almost there. Have you made your wand yet? Did you go to the little town?
Julia, I just bought it.
But anyway, we're getting
off track. This is a decent cigar.
It's an excellent game, Ray. I think you should get it. You should play it.
Yeah.
And
all right, Julia, I'm
honestly,
tonight.
It doesn't even feel like a Harry Potter game. It's like I want to say it's just like a real, like, reminds me of Skyrim, but with like more magic, or like
Skyrim?
Souls. It's like a Souls game.
Interesting.
Yeah.
There's so much shit to collect. All right. Well,
I haven't decided if it's in the future or in the past of like the Harry Potter books. But
I thought it was in the past. I didn't think it was. I thought it was before Harry Potter. Could be wrong. Someone could.
Well, one of the professors is Professor Weasley, and I was thinking.
Oh, like Ron Weasley?
Yeah, the Weasleys were not a part of the school other than them being kids, and, like, I
Yeah.
thought those were the first generations in the school, and so that it because it's a professor, I was thinking maybe it's a couple of generations of Weasley down. Yes, I did, and then when you go through the forbidden section of the library and then the freaking troll ghost tells on you, God, I'd bring that guy back to life and Avada him out.
You'd unalive him?
Oh, yeah, I'd
Unalive
alive
him,
him, then
bro?
unalive him.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just bought it. I will be live here after the stream, after the podcast to do a stream. So if you guys haven't done so already, make sure you follow Ray Ray Scooney on Facebook and Twitch. Or I think it's Ray Ray Official. So just check me out. I'll be there.
Wanna play. But okay, anyway, so what are we talking about today, man?
Now look, this is your topic. We're gonna talk about it. I know a little bit. Definitely not as much as I should know, but this is an opportunity for me to learn a little bit. We're talking about the Appalachian Mountains and some of the conspiracy theories and history behind it, including some secret societies,
Oh,
some interesting people, some potential military bases, and hidden things behind it. I did know that the Appalachian Mountains uh, start in Canada and come all the way over across the states into Alabama.
yeah, I
I
think
think
so.
if I'm not mistaken. Um, but there's a
That's where
few there's a few different conspiracy theories about it. What do you got?
I was gonna say that's where the iconic, like, Trail of Tears is, right? That's where that kind of journey was
Trail of Tears.
pursued when the, Native Americans migrated because of Western colonization or whatever.
Interesting.
But
Interesting.
anyway, yeah, so I don't really know how to go about it. I just figured I would look up some cool, like, ghost stories. There's a one place in particular that I've always wanted to go in the Appalachian Mountains, um, that is just, like, incredibly spooky,
Yeah.
and, um, so I got a couple stories, and then I just wanted to get your thoughts on some of the folklore and stuff like that, and so, I guess with
Yeah.
that being said, there is a town, in northwestern Connecticut called, uh, Dudleytown.
You say it with such emphasis. Dudley Town.
Yes,
The
so
Dudley Town.
Dudleytown,
Okay.
AKA the town of the damned, is this
Okay.
old town that, um, used to be just, like, a thriving community, and so running into it, let's see here, where was that at? So the town initially, it was just like a settled town in the Appalachian Mountains, and then it was owned by this gentleman named Thomas Griffiths, and so this all took place during like the late 1700s, and
Yeah.
so even though this individual owned the town, there's really no record that he ever lived there,
Yeah.
and so um oh shoot, what was I gonna say? So then the Dudleys decided to go move in there, and I can't remember why. I think it was just like part of like the Western expansion, and so forgive me if I am
Yeah.
wrong, chat, and everybody's more knowledgeable than me. But
Drop it in the comments. Let us know we're wrong. That's okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Dudleyville.
So anyway, Gideon Dudley moved there 1747, and he and his brothers just they lived there. They were trying to settle it. They had uh, shoot, what was that? Dang, I like wrote this all down and now I'm all lost.
He's
Uh,
all first of all, Appalachian Mountains is insane. I have a story and I'll let you get back to yours to gather your thoughts here. But I have a story back in 1966 in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, located at the confluence of Ohio and the Kanawha rivers, sleepy town of a couple thousand people. You know the story of Mothman? Have you heard of that story? How
yes.
Mothman came about?
I
Yeah,
didn't know how he came
so
about. I've heard about him though.
yeah, so
I played,
Mothman's like
yeah.
huge now, right? Isn't it? It's like some sort of character. covered like
Wasn't he
in
on the X
cartoon.
Files?
It's
Wasn't he on
something
the X
interesting.
Files?
So it was rocked by an unidentified visitor on November 12th in 1966 when grave diggers at a cemetery in Clendenin, West Virginia, about 80 miles from Point Pleasant, claimed to see a man with wings lift off from a tree and fly over their heads. 3 days later, two young couples were driving together near an abandoned World War II TNT plant about 5 miles north of Point Pleasant when they saw a large flying man with 10-foot wings. Now, I don't know how you put that together. And not only was it one person who saw this thing, this creature, but it was two people, and they all referred to it as a man, which was interesting nonetheless. So a man, a 10-foot man with wings, or a large flying man with 10-foot wings, and eyes that glowed red, which is another crazy thing. So just think about this: a large man, relatively, I would say, well over 6 to 7 feet tall, with huge 10-foot wingspan or 10-foot wings with red glowing eyes. A few people saw this creature, not just one, and it got all this extra attention. It was quite a few people. They tried to flee they tried to get away from the unidentified animal or man or thing speeding down the road at about over 100 miles an hour. The creature
The
followed them
flying
back
critter
to
was?
point. The people were trying to get away from this creature
Who
that they
was
made
moving at 100
it.
miles an hour?
It was the car.
Oh, okay,
The
got
car.
it.
The people were
Sorry.
trying to get away. The creature followed them back to Point Pleasant city limits, toe to toe or like nose to nose with them. That creature was flying over 100 miles an hour,
That's
keeping up with them. Is what they were so scared by their experience. They immediately went to the police. The newspapers then dubbed the creature as the Mothman. The national press picked up the story, and the Mothman became a wild sensation almost overnight. Over the following couple weeks, there are at least 8 more reported sightings in and around Point Pleasant of a man-like bird with large wings. Another account came from a YouTube volunteer firefighter, Captain Paul Yoder in Benjamin Enchotes. I think Enchotes is his name. According to the Gettysburg Times, Yoder and Enchotes claimed to have seen a very large bird with red eyes.
Could you imagine? Not even that. Like that's fast. That's like really fast. That
What would you do? Think about this. What would you do seeing a large creature with a 10-foot wingspan? And this gin is really good. I know your favorite gin is that turtle or whale, blue whale stuff. What is it called? What's it called?
gray whale.
Gray whale. But this Bombay Sapphire is really good. I don't know what you guys think. You go Bombay or blue or gray whale. I don't know. A little simple syrup. And this drink that you got me turned on to is just
I
different, man.
I know. I'm kind of on that kick right now too.
It's just
I
different.
didn't I didn't get White Claws. I just have been doing tonic on this one. It still kind of hits a little bit hard.
Tonic. See, I don't like tonic water. I think it's
I
strange.
know it's
I think
spicy
it tastes weird.
water.
Even the White Claw is too much for me, but the amount of simple syrup and other stuff that kind of drowns it out, it's not that bad. Not that bad. I'm down with it. So,
So what
what
what would
would
I
you
do?
do? Yeah, what would you do with a 10-foot, 7-foot, 10-foot wings, red eyes, chasing you at 100 miles an hour? What's your first thought? Is like, what do I do? How do I get out of this situation? Do I stop? Do I look over and try to investigate? What do you do? And give me an example of what you would do, and then what you would do if you had someone with you. So say a significant other, a child, whatever it might be. Because I feel like you would react. I think just in general, I
Differently,
think
yeah.
people would react differently if it was just them versus if they were with somebody else that they cared about. So give me 2 examples on what you would do.
I think the first and foremost, what I would do before like panic and stuff ensued, I would probably pinch myself just to make sure.
Immediately just
I would just
fucking
say,
just pinch
are
myself
we
like, hey, is this fucking real?
Are you my sleep paralysis demon? I thought I was awake. And then once I've determined that it is real and I'm not sleeping, shoot, bro, I don't even know. Do we have any sort of defense with this? I don't think I would run, especially with the knowledge that it
I don't know.
moves over
What do you
100.
usually keep in your car? You're in your car. You're in your car. Think about it. So you're in your car. Let's paint this picture, chat. Let's paint this picture. Twitch, YouTube. He's in his car. Caleb's in his car. He's got a red Subaru STI. He's driving down I-90, middle of the night, no one around. You get intercepted by this
Moth,
huge, large creature
Mothman.
with 10-foot wings and red eyes. What do you do?
Well,
You continue to drive, and you're on E.
mm,
You're on E. Where do you go?
I think I would stand and deliver. They'd call me the highwayman. I would be the story. There would be two stories. There'd be the story that there was once a Mothman, and then there'd be a story of the highwayman
Once a
in the
month,
Subaru.
man. What is it?
Um,
You'd have the
well, I
death
have
of the
my like,
Mothman and the rise of the Highwayman.
yeah, I have my tactical 4-in-1 breach tool that I keep in my trunk at all times, and I think I would use my breach tool to help mitigate the situation. I think.
Okay.
But I don't honestly know. Like, that's big. I'm a small dude because if it's got a 10-foot wingspan, you would say it's gotta at least be 6, 7 feet tall. So he would just
Yeah, I would
tower
think
over
so.
me.
Yeah. With huge, giant red eyes.
You know, I don't know, man. I'd do my best. I'd fight him.
I'd fight. He'd throw the,
Well, yeah, so,
he'd
like, it
scoop
would
you up
either
and take
be
you like a small child, bro.
yeah, it'd either be a really cool story or it is no longer my problem. So, like,
Chat, put the
I
comments here after after the YouTube video gets posted here in just a little bit on what you would do if you ran into
what would you
the
do?
Mothman. What would I do?
Yeah, you can't run.
I'd keep driving.
Your car runs out of gas. You're on E.
I said I'm on it. I'm not out of gas yet. If I ran out of gas and it was still next to me, yeah, I think I would have no choice to try and
How
fight
are you
it.
taking it out? Using the stuff in your car.
How? Oh, what's in my
Walk me through
car?
it.
Easy. Got a 9 in my car
Mm-mm.
with at least 16. No, I would 12 without 24 rounds. I had
I don't think that
24
would be
rounds.
enough.
I don't know if
I
it'll
don't
be enough either. But
I
that's what
don't
I
either.
would do. I would take out. I would try to take it out. If that didn't work, I think I got some sports cards in my car in the trunk. I might throw
Hit him with
some.
that price.
I might hit
This
with
is
the
a
price tag.
9.5.
Yeah, bro.
It's
I
got
got a
that good
Beckett
rating.
9.5. I got a Beckett 9.5 on him real quick.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would do. I would, yeah, I think I would accept fate, but I would maybe try to fight. It depends on how scary he was. If he was like super scary looking, like red eyes, just like a giant man with wings and red eyes, I don't know if that would like necessarily scare me. Now, unless he had like a really scary, like monster face, like
Well,
droopy
yeah,
with
he would
like
I think,
scary, like weird liquid falling from his face and like snarling at me,
well,
like
he
maybe
would have to
I'd be a
have
little
more
scared.
characteristics of a moth. I feel like the reason why, like, why is he called the Mothman if all they were able to see are red eyes and wings? Let's let's redo that. So let's say these red eyes are so he's got the face of a
Bro,
moth.
this is what he looked like. I'm gonna find a let me find a picture here. Let me find a picture. This is what people were saying he looked like. Let me pull this up because I think this is a good comparison or a good way to see like how scared you would be of the Mothman. Like what people have put together. I swear there's like a movie. There's like a like iconic. I think there's a movie called The Mothman Legacy or The Mothman, something like that. Like it was like significant. Let me see here.
I'm not gonna lie to
Look,
you. Every
look at
time
this
I
right
think
here.
of yeah, so he has the face of a moth. That's like a completely different story. Whenever I think of the Mothman, I always think of Terraria on a blood moon. No, it's a solar eclipse on hard mode when the Mothman will show up and you get like really rare gear from him to help make like the end game weapon. And so like whenever we have said Mothman tonight, all I think about is just like my totally cracked out little Terraria character just spinning his sword around. So it's not super spooky.
Now, if I saw,
But like
yeah, now if I saw this right
yeah.
here, yeah, I'm accepting my fate. right here. I
But
am. That's
hear me out.
terrifying. That's super terrifying. There's no fucking hearing you out. That is terrifying. There's no way I'm gonna sit there and build up the courage. Look at the hooves on the feet.
But if this is a Mothman, okay, walk with me. If this is a Mothman, moths have that little powdery stuff on their wings you're not supposed to touch. So what could, in theory,
Why
you just
not?
like it just like messes up their flight. They're not able to do it. So could you just like
I don't think this Mothman goes by those rules.
then he's not a moth.
He's part man.
He's not. He's got some freaking clubs on his feet though. Look at those
What if you?
freaking
Yeah. What if you saw this right here, flying at you, mouth open, hands out like this, coming towards you? what do you? What do you do?
Yeah,
There's no
I'm
way.
probably
There's no
screwed.
way.
I'm
There's no way.
screwed, yeah.
There's no way I'm going after that thing. It's just not. I'm just not. There's no
No,
way.
you're right.
I'm not
That's
getting
fair.
away. I'm not
Well,
getting
here's
away.
another one. So, just like on the line of spooky critters, let's see here. Have you where is it?
I think these are some. There's some good ones out. There's some good ones out here that are questionable. And this is keep in mind. This is all in like the Appalachian Mountains. There's so much shit,
Yeah.
and the Appalachian Trail, which I think is funny, Julia. The Appalachian Trail is also um, a huge part of the trail is in Pennsylvania, where Julia you are from. People can go on these trails, and they have witnessed some wild things. I guess there's like these massive homeless camps in on the Appalachian Trail where that's like straight up like hills have eyes type of situations that you're running into where there's like these camps and there's been saying like when people walk by these camps, bro, picture this, you're in the woods, you're in this trail, trees everywhere, there's massive camps of like I don't know, there's like a bunch of different camps, but they're like 20 to 30 people deep in each camp, and all of these camps you run by and people are really really aggressive on these camps. And what happens is people can't find any of the people like the people that are in these camps, but they get these eerie feelings of people watching them constantly. There's been rumors of like murders that have been happening, people have gone missing, and like they get these people in the Appalachian Mountains or Appalachian Trail go through and pretty much like make people disappear. It's pretty wild. It's really wild to see. And there's another story that I was reading about called the Bell Witch Haunting. And it's about the story
Oh,
of
that
it's
reminds
a
me of the hunt project, bro. When we went to the military base. No, but pause. On
yeah.
in the grounds of spooky monsters, here's another one that I'd like to run that same exact thing to
Uh-huh.
against it with. So, have you ever heard of the Wampus cat?
I was reading about the Wampus cat. Yeah, yeah. Tell me
What's up,
about it.
Shaw? Okay, so the Wampus cat is
Oh, welcome.
one of the coolest like mythological creatures in like the Cherokee for folklore, in my personal opinion. So
Yeah.
the Wampus cat, how legend goes, is there was a um, it was like a war party. So they were like they were getting ready to go do just like hunting or something like that. And one of
Mm,
the women there saw the ritual of the war party and got cursed. And so what the curse
hmm.
did was turn her into it similarly to what a mountain lion would look like, but with six
Interesting.
hands and significantly larger. And so, if you could just picture
Hmm.
a six-legged cougar, and I would say about twice the size, all yellow eyes. And so, what it would do, and so I guess how it happened was like how the curse was manifested as when she got caught observing the party, she like
Mm-mm.
went and ran to hide, and so she hid underneath like a lion's pelt. And thank you. And what ended up happening was this like curse befell her and cursed her to be this beast, and so she was stuck inside of this. And so what she would do, because she was so angry at humans for putting this curse on her, is she would approach people that would just random on the mountain, and she would stand up on her hind legs and scream in this like manner that would cause that people to go insane before taking them out.
Really?
Yeah,
And she was like this forever? Like it was just
yeah,
this.
that was yeah. And so the legend has it that she's still on the in the mountains to this day, uh, hunting and lurking and claiming people as their own because of her grudge that she has against humans for doing that to her.
Damn, I like
So,
that story. Isn't
same
that wild?
story. Yeah.
Very similar. How weird. There's so many interesting stories, and that's a good one. I was reading about that earlier. I think that was super interesting. I did leave that to you because I figured you would find that, and it was
Yeah.
about cats. So I was like, my guy, I know my guy
That's where
would be like, would
cattywampus came from, bro. You ever hear that segment?
cattywampus, yeah,
Yeah.
acting all cattywampus.
Yeah.
Hell, I almost fucking burned myself on the cigar.
But anyway, sorry to interrupt.
I'm
I was
new.
just like,
I'm
I
new.
thought I'd add in a cool little. That's like my
I think
favorite
it's good.
one.
Mhm. I have another one. I have a couple different ones. The Moon Eyed People, which seems to be super similar. Of
Skinwalkers,
the,
bro.
I have Skinwalkers too. Yeah, I
I
have
thought the Moon-eyed people
Skinwalkers.
were the same as the Skinwalkers.
That's what I have too. The Moon Eyed People. I was going to talk about that, but I want to talk
Yeah,
about
yeah, go.
The Bell Witch haunting with John and
Okay.
Lucy Bell. They were farmers who settled in Adams, Tennessee, right around 1800, the early 1800s, 1800, 1803, 1805. They lived on this land until about 1817 when the family began experiencing odd explainable occurrences in their home. They began hearing different noises such as scratching, knocking on the walls, and like chains being like dragged across the floor.
Ew,
That
I
was
don't
just an
like that.
interesting thing. Yeah, just dragged across the floor. I think is just super scary. That feeling of like just it's like they're it's I don't know. It's super unnerving.
It's
Um,
really ambient, like the ambient feeling of chains dragging or like scratching on walls. It's just something about it. I completely yeah, I hear you. I feel that.
wild. Um, Over time, the noises became really intense and more frequent. They happened a lot. The Bells had two daughters, and they began complaining of something trying to pull at their bed covers and pinch them while they were sleeping. For over a year, the Bells remained silent about the strange events that took place. So they didn't want to really let anybody know. They thought it was weird.
Mhm.
Like they didn't want to go
For
through
sure. If there's
and be like this weird family.
a repeat of like the witch trials from the old
Right.
the old times, that makes sense.
Yeah, they didn't want they were part of a church. And again, I think back in the
Yeah.
1800s,
Mhm.
churches they were really like tight-lipped about
Oh yeah.
things like that happening. So they, and back in the day, church like if you started to show some of those experiences or let people know about these experiences you're having, like the church, it's going to get back to the church. Everyone is almost like required to go to church back in the 1800s. And so if it got out, they would be expelled or disbanded from the church. And so they
Or
were worried
treated
that
like a witch or a
or
wizard
treated
or
like a
something.
witch, right? And
Yeah.
so they went through and they were afraid of what the church might think. The harassment, though, continued until they finally confided in one of their neighbors about the incidents that have been happening in their home. Then one of the neighbors then came over and experienced the same kind of disturbances. Before long, all the people in the east part of the neighborhood knew about these occurrences that were happening. Then eventually almost became so prevalent that travelers from afar would come through and they would start to almost like a tourist attraction, and they wanted to experience the supernatural things that were happening for themselves. Some of them came as skeptics. Some of them came as like, "Hey, I want to try to help you." So there's all these different things that were happening, and they really didn't know how to handle it. They didn't want to give so much attention to it, but they also wanted other people to recognize and be like, "Hey, we're not crazy. This is normal. Like this is a
Mhm.
thing that has been happening." then it started to go through, and they started to talk about how it was only, uh, it was only there to kill John Bell, which was the husband, which was the father. And so now they started to think it wasn't attached to the house; it was attached to John Bell.
Bro, what did he do?
Well,
Did he do some war
so
crimes against the superstitious?
yeah, so it was according to records here, the poltergeist, which then they deemed it a poltergeist, because I don't know if they had any additional information on what it could be other than just a poltergeist, received the name Kate after it claimed to be a witch of the local lady named Kate Batts. Now, Kate Batts died years before, and they deemed it that was Kate that was um, haunting the house. John Bell later died on December 20th, 1980. Kate then took credit for the death, insisting that she had poisoned him because he was a bad man. After John Bell's death, things began to get increasingly difficult for the family. So there's a lot going on in this house. Um, and people continued to die in that area. And then the son also, John Bell Jr., also died about 100 years, almost was it 100 years or less than 100 years from the day that this on the same day that John Bell died. Again, citing poison. It's very interesting to read about. It's never kind of been fully uncovered on what exactly happened. Just knowing that this family has been forever cast, and it seems to only be attracted to
It
hurting
is the
the men in
bloodline.
the family, the men in the family, not the females. So I look at this and I think of like maybe again, this is just speculating, but maybe that um, John Bell Jr. maybe had something to do. Maybe they hurt a female or something had to do with Kate, and they were forever kind of cursed um, for the murder or the assault of women or a woman. But um, it was kind of weird. It was the Bell Witch truly was, when you look at the story and how it endured, and many people figured out, different theories. Doctors, lawyers, preachers back in the day signed eyewitness manuscripts that they witnessed all of these things happening. And so, I mean, I like if one person does, it's always hard to like go through and be like, oh yeah, that's true, that happened, that was a thing that happened. But like there was a multitude of people that
With
all
same
witnessed
claims.
things happening, and that would
Yeah.
just lead into like ghosts. Like ghosts are they real? Are they not real? Like I'm a firm believer that there is something that happens between that and the complete, afterlife and then death and all of this. So I think ghosts are real. I think there's things that happen, and some are really demonic and some aren't. And this was one of the things again, and this happened in the Appalachian Mountains and parts of West Virginia, which are really super haunted. And I think this is something to note that things continue to happen still to this day.
Hmm.
What are
That
your
would kind of
thoughts?
suck. I would just like,
Yeah, fuck yeah, it
could,
would suck.
could you imagine? I don't just like thinking about stuff like that, that a curse lasting through generations. Like at some point, there's going to be like this Mr. Bell is going to be
Yeah,
lost to history, and it sounds like his like generations down the road are still going to be suffering from this curse.
yeah,
That just like is just such a crazy thought that the ultimate bitter are ghosts.
right,
Yeah,
right.
they have all the time in the world to hold a grudge. I don't know.
All the time. Yeah, they have so much time to go through and soul grudges. But we were talking about the Moon-eyed people. Have you read about the Moon-eyed people?
I did, yeah. No, you know what the Moon Knight people reminds me of? It reminds me of that game that we played, um, The Forest.
That
Just
was a good
like,
game.
yeah. Um, I mean, you want me to dive into the Moon Knight people?
Let's get it because I
I
got
think
I got some things too.
okay. So let me pull up my notes here. So the Moon Knight, so according to like Appalachian folklore, for those who aren't familiar, I think these are the OG like the memed out freaking skinwalkers. Ray
Yeah.
said something where it kind of sounds like there are skinwalkers as well, but I think these are them. So there's a group of pale-skinned humanoids that are called the moon-eyed people. So
Yeah.
the location of them, they're like, bro, shot the new one comes out, and I'm so hyped. I think it comes out here in the next like week or so.
All the new forest. We
Yeah,
ran through the first one. We got to play
Children
the
of the
other one.
Forest is coming out, bro. Like buckle
Yeah,
up. Time flew. Um okay, so
it's
the
good,
actual location of them is unknown, but oh no, lost my spot. Hang on now.
bro. The Moon Eye people are a legendary group of
Yeah,
people. Uh, According to Cherokee mythology, lived in the southern Appalachian Mountains, which is
but
now
it's
like the southeastern United
yeah,
States
but
area.
it's not the actual location of them is unknown. And what's really distinct about them is they have big like moon colored eyes and really nice beards. Like
Really white
blue,
beards, right?
yeah, blue, super blue eyes and just like perfect beards. And
Yeah,
so allegedly, their eyes are so sensitive to the sun that they remain nocturnal. And this is why it like kind of brought me into that game because everything lives underground and you know the spooks come out at night.
yeah,
Um so, legend says that the local Native Americans wait for the full moon to drive them out from their underground caves. The
yeah.
bright light of the moon is what weakens them, and it would like force them to flee to other parts of the Appalachians for good. Unlike the other Appalachian monsters, these people were considered to be distinctly separated race of people. So they're not these weird mythological creatures, they're this like interestingly diverse subspecies of human that were born and developed underground,
Yeah.
like mole people or whatever. Um, uh, but what's interesting about that is that they were also not native to the Appalachians. What the records show is that they were thought to believe just like mostly European descent. And what makes it
Okay.
makes it so shocking is that these sort of accounts date back hundreds and hundreds of years before Christopher Columbus discovered America. And
Yeah.
so, like going into that, I was just like,
Christopher Columbus wasn't even the first person to discover America. This
yeah,
that was
these
that was it.
freaking.
And he was a piece of shit. But we'll go into that another day.
So, um, yeah, so just like into more detail of like what kind of their dimensions, like what they physically looks like.
Yeah.
So there is a, let's see, there if you go to the County like historical museum, this is in Murphy. There's a 3 foot tall sculpture of two conjoined figures thought to represent moon-eyed people, which
Yep.
was founded in the early 1800s. And so, um, let's see. There's also just like in Fort Mountain, just like different areas around the Appalachians. There's still to this day like giant ruins and structures. One of them in particular was an 850-foot long stone wall that just like stretches on and on. Um, but yeah, I just what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah. I mean, the Moon Eye people are this weird prehistoric tribe um, that were
Europeans,
they were suggested to be Europeans or Welsh or Mediterranean explorers who arrived in America long before Christopher Columbus. That we had, you know, again, people thought that Christopher Columbus had gone through and and discovered America
Also,
first.
it's like
That's a lie.
on a side note, what wasn't there like locations and like documented proof of like the original spice trades that
Yeah,
Eastern Asia like had already hit America on the West Coast like years and years and years before
yeah,
Christopher Columbus.
yeah. Years before, and like this was like back in the like around 1170. I mean, and what did Christopher Columbus discover in 1492 or whatever, right?
Yeah,
So this
something like
was
that.
this was like
Hundreds.
250 years before Christopher Columbus found it. So it's just interesting. They were large, blue-eyed, fair white skin, and I almost think about whenever I hear large blue eyes and fair white skin, and then there's also rumors that they had like a tint of like a blue skin. It was so white it almost became
So
like
yeah.
blue,
Hmm.
which if people don't know, whenever there are people that have blue skin that are human, and there are people that walk around today with blue skin, the reason why they have blue skin is because they're ingesting a large amount of silver. When digesting a large amounts of silver over time, your skin will get blue tint to it, or legitimately, if you drink enough of it or inhale enough of it from caves and mining, your skin will turn blue. If you look up past people being in the mines for so long, they actually have blue skin. There's actually two. There's a one or two people that live in our hometown, Caleb, that literally walk around. They have blue skin. It's an older guy, very blue eyes, a white beard, is very clean cut, and he has really blue skin. And he
I
drinks
didn't know that.
he drinks silver. Yeah, excuse me.
What?
And so if you see here, let me show you here. Um, there's a guy in our town that literally has blue eyes, blue skin, and it's because of the ingest. And this is the guy. He's all over the news. This guy right here. He lives in Bellingham. This guy right here lives in
No
Bellingham. Blue
way.
skin. Yeah, blue eyes, blue skin, silver beard. Um, and it's people ingest silver, and I think this is why people also believe that some of these people had bluish skin, and they mentioned that in some of the articles. Um, and when we I don't know how that came about, if they were ingesting silver somehow um, in the Appalachian Mountains. I haven't confirmed if there is uh, a ton of silver or other things that cause that, but that's one of the causes of people that have blue skin is um, they ingest silver, which is really weird. But they also, in this area, the Moon-Eyed people, they talked about they were part of a descendant of a small group of Welshmen who came to America long before Spanish and settled into the Smoky Mountains about 1170. They then, they moved over, traveled over to the Appalachian Mountains, and they were never seen again after the early, late 1170, 1180s, which is really interesting to think about. No one's really found them after that. So we don't know if they're continuing to live out their lives, if they've just kind of, in theory, just kind of gone extinct, and not around anymore. But again, people still to this day find the Moon-Eyed people with blue eyes and a very white, clean cut beard, which is just super interesting because that's still, I think someone in the early 2000s also witnessed someone with a small blue-eyed, blue skin, people up in the mountains, which I think is just continues to strengthen the conspiracy that these people are still very active.
That's incredibly fascinating. I didn't know this was even a thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very
it's
weird.
it's called. I just saw it. It is called Argyria. Like an actual thing.
Yeah, yeah. And that
It
it's
comes from
pretty wild. Where does it come from?
it comes from if you do so if
The
you
ingestion of
do
the ingestion of silver, right?
ingest it or you're around it, what happens is the silver itself oxidizes in your
Yeah.
stomach with your
Yeah.
so it chemically changes with the acids in your stomach turning into um uh, silver salt for lack of medical term,
Yeah.
and it
Silver
causes
salt. That's interesting.
yeah it which is like a black color.
Yeah.
And then when in the presence of the sun, it changes the compound to a blue-ish color.
Yeah.
It's not bad for you, and actually in like a lot of like weird like home remedy like things, it's they homeopathic remedies. It's used to treat cancer, boost your immune
Mhm.
system, as well as a bunch of other things. FDA doesn't stand behind that. But there's also no reports of somebody having, like, a fatal
Get out of
re
here. FDA
react
won't approve it?
I know. How much do you think so, like, if since these guys like, 2 questions come to mind.
Yeah.
Maybe these were people running, like, silver mines in the Appalachians. I wonder if, like, that's a really silver-rich area. 2, how much do you think the blood of someone that is suffering from Argyria is worth?
I don't know, but you know those crabs, those blue crabs, the blood of a
Oh,
blue
the horseshoe
crab,
crabs? Horseshoe
horseshoe crab
crabs are cool.
is worth thousands of dollars.
Yeah,
If you can get one, you're looking at minimum $50,000 for the blood of a blue crab, which the horseshoe crab, which is fucking phenomenal. So a human, God forbid, we're going a little astray here with the idea of draining out someone's blood, but what is it worth? I don't know. I don't know
bro,
if they would
they
use it
need to
for
save the
remedies or anything
horseshoe
like that.
crabs. Horseshoe crabs are so cool. Those are the last living dinosaurs, bro. Those things are
Yeah.
so freaking fascinating.
Yeah, if anybody
They're just like
hasn't seen the horseshoe crab, it is absolutely wild. And people, they're endangered, right? I think
because of how
these are
their
endangered
blood,
animals.
yeah, they are because their blood is so fantastic.
Yeah. Look at these things. These things are crazy. And look what happens. This is wild. And here's the thing. I don't want to get people confused. They're not killing them. They're very much alive.
It's like a blood
These
transfusion.
Yeah, these crabs are alive. They're not dead, and they put them
Yeah,
back after they're done draining them, which is absolutely crazy to think.
yeah.
This blood, if you get your hands on a horseshoe crab and can get this liquid or the blood, like, it's crazy on how much it's worth. Like, if we look at let me see, horseshoe crab. I just want to look at what people are paying for it. It's price per gallon, which I think is $60,000 per gallon for horseshoe crab blood.
Mhm.
sixty thousand
Yeah.
dollars. Now I
Well,
don't know
it's
how much one crab goes through, and I don't know how many pints of blood a horseshoe crab has, but you got to think. I mean, $60,000 for a blood of a crab. But again, and I think the reason why it's so is because pharmaceutical people, they have pilled it, and there's all these things that they claim,
Well, it's like
has.
it's it's one of the only creatures in the natural kingdom that's still alive. One, it's like a copper-based blood,
Yeah,
and 2, what it
it's called
does is
Limitless
LAL,
amabositite.
yeah, Limulus ambosite lysate.
Yeah,
What it
that's a
does
mouthful.
is when bacteria or something affects it gets into the blood system, the blood itself will attack it and then coagulate around it and then expel it.
Interesting.
And so it's very
Crazy.
cool. I love it. Those are our dinosaurs we must protect.
Yeah, but it's crazy, like, how the system, what they do is they literally, they kind of open them up and lock them down and then drain their blood. I think that's just
It's sad, bro. It's like
yeah,
going to a blood bank at when I was in school, and that little freaking meat wagon would show up, and you just plug in,
crab
and
wagon.
yeah,
Yeah,
you get a little. uh,
yeah, it's just wild, you know. But another thing that I wanted to jump around and talk about is um some of the secret societies that are part of the Appalachian Mountains. And
yeah,
there's a few
I'm
different.
super excited about this because this is not something that I I know nothing about this. And when you were saying that at the beginning of this podcast, I was like, go on.
Yeah, there's clans, and people say there's no connected, clans of people living in the Appalachian Mountains, but you know, of course they don't want to tell us
Of
everything
course.
about that, but there's military, behind the mountains or inside the mountains that they go through, and they have, and I don't, I mean, it's a huge mountain range, so I don't doubt it at all. But there's also a group of people called the Melungians, and they are descendants of people um, who, before the end of the 18th century, were discovered living in specific or small areas of the southeastern United States, specifically in the Appalachian Mountains near the point of Tennessee, Virginia, North Carolina, where they all kind of meet. Um, just a quick breakdown of who these people were they were descendants of members of the Roanoke Island colony of 1587. If you haven't looked at those people, those are kind of neat to look up. But the Roanoke Islands lost colony of 1587. They concluded that the ethnicity is triracial with a European, Native American, African lineage. um, their skin tones varied from dark to light, reflecting a mix of their heritage. They classified them as a free person of color, which I think was interesting. The U.S. Census Bureau classified them as that free person of color because of their unique appearance. These people believed that they were almost like mythical creatures capable of like witchcraft and evil deeds, including like kidnapping children who misbehaved, and then eating them potentially. So they were a pretty wild group of people. Um, while the Melanesian ancestry is not necessarily uncommon in North Carolina, the mountains counties such as the Ash, I think it was called Ash, Mitchell and Ash, which is the majority of Melanesians who eventually settled in the urban areas throughout the Southeast and became practically indistinguishable as a separate ethnic group. These people they're just an interesting group of people that are kind of scary. I'm not gonna lie, kind of scary. There's like a couple different groups of people that I looked up, and they talked about, you know why they thought there was, why they ate people, why people thought they were cannibals. And um a bunch of researchers went to parts where they were supposed to be at and found human remains, and they found things that you would, I guess, equivalent to um, like have being murdered, or like a seance or sacrifice. And so, and these all people lived
Dinner.
throughout dinner. Yeah, dinner. These people lived in these specific areas of the mountain range, and I just thought that was something unique. And people still to this day think they're, again, extinct. I don't know. They haven't been able to find them in over 100 years, so we don't know if they're still truly around or if they're still continued a folklore. But um, yeah, those were some really interesting people. But they also have, like, people thought there was a Chinese secret society in the Appalachian Mountains. Like they had crossed the United States and built out this really small area in the Appalachian Mountains, and that's what they've been using to spy on Americans. Maybe that's how the balloon got up there in the sky, and they shot it down
Mm,
just recently.
Just play the
Yeah,
long game.
yeah, playing the long game. I don't know, but
But like that sounds super realistic though. Like just like leaning back on what we were talking about earlier, just like with people settling trades on the West Coast.
yeah,
Excuse me. That could be real. Or up in like because I think like Eastern Canada got settled before Eastern America did.
yeah,
And so they could come down. Yeah, it did. That was like the Danes and the Vikings.
yeah, yeah.
And so like there
Very
could be
real.
serious Chinese influence that is just like was hidden in there and still to this day hidden in there.
I 100% agree. Chinese are some smart people, bro.
Out there.
They can do it. The other thing I wanted to touch on, and we can touch more on these secret societies because there's a few of them, but I also wanted to talk about the Flatwoods Monster. I want to end this here with the Flatwoods Monster. In the late summer of 1950s, two brothers named Edward and Fred May of Flatwoods, West Virginia, rushed home to tell their mom, Kathleen May, that they'd seen something unexplainable. And this kind of falls into the moon people. Some people believe that the Flatwoods Monster is also the moon people, so I wanted to tie that back
Bro,
together.
didn't they sorry to interrupt you. Didn't they like add that into one of the Fallout games? I'm pretty sure Bethesda is like real keen on that. It's like
Really? I see.
that
I don't follow. I didn't play those games, but
that
if they did,
sounds so familiar, and I've known nothing other. I think it is one of the Fallout games. But anyway, continue. Sorry.
yeah. Yeah, so these kids, Edward and Fred, they were playing football one day at a playground just east of their house, which is near their school. Witnessed a UFO come across the sky and land on a property of a local farmer. There's the kids went over there. They headed out to the farm. It was kind of dark. It was a little dark. They went through and they it was kind of nearing dusk. They saw this, I guess, unidentified object in the woods. They saw it was kind of like spherical or oddly shaped. They didn't really know. They said it was glowing red with smoke and steam coming off of the object. They didn't know. They thought it was like a pulsing light. They pointed. They had a flashlight. They pointed their flashlight towards it, revealing a pair of bright eyes and a 10-foot monster with a blood red face and a green body that seemed to glow.
You
That's
don't like this.
pretty. Yeah, that was a pretty specific with a blood red face, and a
10
green
feet
body.
tall.
Yeah, and again, I think that
That's
leads
twice my size.
that's 4 feet taller than I am. Um,
Bro, no
that's
thank
like
you.
one in that's like one in almost a half of me. And so I just thought, yeah, that was really wild. The monster then apparently supposedly hissed and floated towards the group, not walking, but levitated off of the ground, floated towards the group, causing both Edward and Fred to scream and drop their flashlights. Um, a couple of people that also came with them apparently fainted and vomited for several hours as they returned to town, which was funny because they weren't far from town, but it took them several hours to get back, which I found pretty fascinating. During that whole time, they were vomiting and fainting. So on multiple occasions throughout this time in the woods, they fainted a handful of times. They continued to vomit for a handful of times, and it was they were quoted as saying that the monster looked worse than Frankenstein. And I think when you look at it, you're like, oh gosh, I see a bright red face, blood face with a green body that seems to glow. I think obviously you
Looming
immediately think,
over me like a building. Like,
mhm. So the group turned down the hill. Pete immediately reported what they saw to their local sheriff. A couple hours later, several men with armed men with shotguns returned to the scene. They were met with a horrible smell, according to some reports, but they didn't find anything. They all they did was they smelled this almost like sulfury, aggressive smell that they couldn't seem to locate where that smell came from. It was just
hmm,
in that general area. Um, the interesting thing is, like, back in the 1950s, there wasn't a whole lot of UFO sightings in the 1950s. Um, it was one of only two or so sightings at all in that time in that century, and so it made national headlines, obviously, of these two kids, Edward and Fred May. Um, and it's funny because now this story got so much traction. If you go into that town, there's a sign that reads "Welcome to Flatwoods, home of the Green Monster," and so you can go there. And now it became such of like this. People travel all over the world to go see if they can see the blood
See
red
the
monster with
stinky
green glowing body.
giant.
Um, and so I don't know if that's real or if it's not real, but that was also, multiple people found that story pretty credible based on how many witnesses they saw,
Yeah,
how many people saw afterwards, and so it was just
I
kind of
think
interesting. I thought it
I
was
believe it.
a fun thing to hear, and I think there's so many different things that happen, and people. I don't know, like I've never had the opportunity to see something like that, but I don't
Yeah.
necessarily know how I would react if I did see something like that.
Also,
But
it's like interesting to think about that. Like, if something extraterrestrial were to make sort of contact, it's just like an interesting way to do so. Just to be really noxious, smell bad, like just like invoke terror. I wonder if like if this was real, like was this did this entity feel the same way towards us and then leave because it was fearful, or
yeah,
I don't know. It's just like a weird thought to have. Because like you when you think about like a first contact or what modern movies do, it's like a real just like it's a freaking liaison from both and they somehow communicate and then it's just like really neutral ground. But like what if that's the neutral ground? They were just like really smelt bad and because of our reaction, they were like, yeah, these guys are pricks. We're gonna leave. Like fuck these guys. And that's
these
why we
guys.
don't see aliens.
Yeah, it's very possible. So I think that's good. But it was fun. There's so many different. And
There's so
we
much.
can continue. There's so much involved in the history of the
Yeah.
Appalachian Mountains, which I think is so fascinating. But it was
I
really
think we
exciting, kind of chatting with talking about a couple different things that came up, and it's
we
very
should do
interesting.
something. Maybe we could run it back to HQ, but we did a lot of like the folklore and stuff. I would love to just
Yeah,
like get some of like the actual historicals of
yeah,
like what is the Appalachian Mountains? Like, is there a reason why there's so many just like weird
yeah,
events that have happened here? Like, why here instead of someplace else?
yeah,
And I think it'd just be kind of cool to run it back.
yeah. I think we're gonna do a couple of different things next week. We're gonna chat, like I said, talk to HQ about see what we could do next. But I'm excited for the next week's episode, you guys. You
Same.
guys stay
We'll be
tuned
on
for
time. We'll be
that.
Saturday.
We will be Saturday. We did have an earlier podcast on Thursday, which we may talk about continue to do on
Hmm.
Thursdays and Saturdays. But we wanted to we'll talk about that with HQ and see if they're willing to
Yeah.
make that happen. But I think it's going to be
Or
fun if we can do that.
what are your guys' thoughts? How did you guys like that? Do you think that that's something that you would like to have implemented where we spend time during the week? We bring someone on, we hang out, we just shoot it for an hour and then go on about it, or like I honestly want to know what your guys' feedback is because I had fun. I
Yeah,
know Ray had fun. I know
yeah.
Shaw had fun, and so definitely just something to think about. And so we'd love to hear what you guys feel about that one.
Yeah, and if you have something interesting, you got an interesting story you want to share and talk about with any specific topic, put it in the comments. And if it's something that we think is interesting and we want to talk more, like we're more than happy to invite you onto the podcast, and we can continue to dive deeper into your history and your personal experience with a specific topic. And love to try to just branch out a little bit more and talk to some interesting people. And so, if you have something interesting that you want to share, please DM us here, put it in the comments, and we will reach out and see if we can set something up. I'd love to do it. But it was a fun Sunday evening. Cheers, my friend. Always a pleasure. Continue to do it. You guys have a good rest of your night. We will talk to you next week. Take care.